every corner of a garden, there is always a story waiting to be found. Sometimes hiding behind petals, sometimes lingering in the objects we once thought had no more use. At Teraflora Studio, we believe beauty doesn't always come from something new. Sometimes it blooms from what we choose to save, from humble materials given a second chance to shine. Today, we'll wander slowly through a collection of creative ideas you can bring to life right at home. These are not just decorations, but gentle ways to weave old stories into new beauty. You'll see how empty bottles, plastic spoons, worn-out tires, and shattered mirrors can transform into pieces that catch the eye and warm the heart. Before we begin, there's something important you should know. This content was created with the assistance of AI, designed to let each word flow with calm clarity. Each description feel vivid to the ear, and every detail guide you toward creating your own garden magic. Every idea here can be made by hand. You don't need to be an expert, only willing to try and open to seeing beauty in unexpected places. If these stories make you smile or inspire you to turn the old into something new, we warmly invite you to subscribe. By doing so, you'll join us on this journey of inspiration, discovering new ideas, nurturing creativity, and letting your garden, and perhaps your heart, keep blooming. So let us begin gently, step by step, idea by idea, with time to savor each moment, each vision, and every possibility that lies ahead. Quiet embrace of a summer garden, where the air smells faintly of lavender and sun-warmed wood. A row of bottles dangles gently from an old apple tree. They were once ordinary vessels, soda bottles, wine bottles, the kind you might toss away without a second thought. But here, under the touch of careful hands, they have found a new purpose. Their glass walls are brushed with soft strokes of pastel paint, each shade chosen not for perfection but for joy, mint that catches the morning light, pale lilac that blushes under sunset, and warm peach that seems to hold a piece of the day inside. Inside each bottle, a fairy light twinkles, glowing steadily as if it has always belonged there. When dusk arrives, the transformation feels almost like a secret being told. The garden takes a slow breath, the petals close, and the lanterns begin to shine. Their warm light spills across the grass, dancing on the leaves, catching the eyes of anyone who passes by. The bottles don't just illuminate, they invite. They pull you closer, whispering in colors and shadows that even what is cast aside can be beautiful again. It's a project you can begin on a lazy afternoon, nothing expensive, nothing complicated. Wash the bottles, peel away their labels, and let your imagination decide their colors. Use old paint from forgotten shelves or mix new hues from what you already have. Slip a string of battery-powered fairy lights inside each one. Or, for a more sustainable touch, use tiny solar bulbs that drink in the sun by day and return it as warmth by night. Hang them from branches, along fences, or under a pergola. Let them sway when the wind passes through. Place them near seating areas so their glow becomes part of every evening conversation. And as you watch them at night, those once forgotten bottles now beacons of charm. You'll realize the magic isn't just in the light. It's in the act of giving something a second life, of choosing beauty over waste, of letting your hands tell a story that the garden will remember long after summer fades. Where sunlight slides gently through the leaves and ivy clings like quiet poetry, a butterfly rests. Its wings do not flutter, yet they seem alive, stretched wide in a celebration of color. Look closely, and you'll see they are not painted, not carved, but built from the humblest of pieces. Discarded bottle caps, once scattered in kitchen drawers or lost in recycling bins. These caps have been reborn in a kaleidoscope of turquoise, coral, sunflower yellow, and twilight purple. Every hue holds a memory. A soda shared on a hot afternoon, a bottle of oil from last winter's stew, the mineral water from a picnic by the river. Arranged carefully, they form patterns that speak of symmetry and wonder. The same geometry nature gives to the wings of living butterflies. This mural is more than decoration. It's a reminder that beauty can rise from the overlooked, that art can live in the most ordinary corners of our homes. On warm days, the colors seem to hum in the heat. On cooler mornings, they glisten faintly with dew, as if each cap is holding a drop of the season's breath. Creating your own is simpler than it seems. Begin by saving caps of every color. If your collection feels too muted, a few strokes of outdoor acrylic paint can turn even the dullest piece into a gem. Sketch your butterfly's shape on a wooden board or directly onto a fence. Then, like placing puzzle pieces, begin to fill the wings with color, securing each cap with weather-resistant glue or screws. The process is slow, but the slowness is part of its charm. A quiet afternoon project where each piece finds its perfect place. When it's finished and mounted, step back. See how the wings catch the light, how they stand in joyful contrast to the green life around them. You might notice bees hovering nearby, perhaps curious about this bright newcomer among the flowers. Children will point, visitors will pause, and you'll smile, knowing that something once thrown away now brings delight to everyone who sees it. In a garden, beauty often blooms from the soil, but sometimes it blooms from the things we thought we'd lost. A butterfly, born not from chrysalis, but from the gentle work of human hands. Nestled beneath a flowering canopy, where the light filters through leaves like liquid gold, stands a house too small for people, yet grand enough for dreams. This is not a home built by bricks or beams, but by imagination. A fairy house born from what the world once discarded. Rusted tin forms its sturdy walls, their dull gray now kissed with strokes of pastel lavender and mint. Bent spoons frame its windows like delicate silver petals. A dented pot, once forgotten in the corner of a shed, now crowns the structure as a roof, curved just right to shelter whatever magic lives inside. Around it, bottle caps create a winding path, each one a stepping stone into a story. The garden seems to gather around it. Foxgloves lean in like quiet guardians. Daisies sway in cheerful approval. The air carries the faint scent of moss and earth, and every now and then, a butterfly drifts by, as though checking on a neighbor. It is still, yet full of life. A place that feels like it might awaken at night when no one is watching. Making one is less a task and more a gentle ritual. Begin with what you have. A piece of metal that's seen better days. A teacup with a crack. A handful of bottle caps. Or an old jar lid. Arrange them with patience, letting shapes and textures guide you. Add small windows from cutout tin or paint them directly onto the walls. Use bits of broken jewelry or buttons to add sparkle. If you find moss or creeping vines in your garden, let them grow naturally around the base, weaving the house into its surroundings. This is not about perfection. The dents and scratches are part of the story. Each imperfection carries the history of where these objects have been before they became part of something new. Once your fairy house is complete, place it somewhere quiet in the garden, where shadows and sunlight take turns visiting. You might catch the glimmer of dew on its roof at dawn, or see the glow of fireflies near its doorway at dusk. And whether or not you believe in fairies, you'll know this much. You've turned forgotten things into a home for wonder. Because in the end, the magic isn't in the house itself. It's in the choice to see beauty where others see waste. In the hush of a summer morning, the garden feels almost like it's holding its breath. A soft breeze stirs, carrying the faint perfume of wisteria, and with it a gentle sway, rows of tiny planters dancing lightly in the air. They were once nothing more than yogurt cups, destined for the bin without a second thought. But today they hold life. Each cup, washed and dried, has been given a coat of color: soft peach, mint green, powder blue, shades that catch the sunlight and smile back. Inside, roots have found a new home. Tiny alyssums spill over the rim like whispers. Lobelias trail down in slender cascades. Petunias bloom in little bursts of pink and purple, turning every cup into a pocket of joy. It's a project that begins simply, yet feels like a small act of quiet rebellion against waste. All it takes is twine or sturdy string, a handful of old yogurt cups, and a willingness to let your imagination play. Punch small holes in the sides for drainage, and if you like, add another set at the top for threading the hanging cord. Then paint them, not for perfection, but for delight. Patterns, dots, stripes, or even the fingerprints of the hands that made them will do. Hang them where the morning light finds them first, beneath a pergola, from a sturdy tree branch, or along a sunny fence line. Let them catch the breeze so their blooms sway as if greeting the bees and butterflies that visit. What's beautiful about these little planters is how they invite variety. Each one can hold a different plant, a different texture, a different color. Together, they create a vertical garden that changes with the seasons, offering not just beauty, but a living reminder that small spaces can still hold life. By afternoon, the sun paints soft shadows across the cups, and their blooms seem to lean toward the light. In the evening, as the sky fades to gold, they take on a quiet glow, the kind of beauty that doesn't need to announce itself. It's simply there, swaying gently, part of the garden's slow heartbeat. And in that stillness, you'll see it clearly. The smallest things, when given care, can grow into something worth looking up to. At the edge of the garden, where the grass begins to give way to a winding path, a burst of color rises toward the sky. It is not made of silk or fresh blooms, yet it feels alive. A flower arch, crafted entirely from pieces of plastic the world no longer wanted. Every petal began its life as something ordinary. A spoon from last summer's picnic, a cup from an old party, a lid that had lost its match. Washed, reshaped, and painted in shades that sing fuchsia, lemon, lavender, seafoam. They now climb and curl along a sturdy frame, meeting at the top like a bouquet suspended in midair. Step closer and you'll notice the details. Each petal has been cut by hand, edges smoothed, and colors layered so that the light plays across them differently depending on the hour. In the morning, they glow softly, catching the first golden rays. By midday, they gleam bright and bold, casting playful shadows on the path below. At sunset, they seem to hum with warmth, as if holding the day's last light. Building such an arch is as much about vision as it is about patience. Start with a simple frame, wood, metal, or even a pair of repurposed trellises. Gather your plastic, making sure each piece is clean and ready to work with. Cut petal shapes and heat them gently if you want to curve them for realism. Paint them with weather-resistant colors, and when dry, attach them securely with wire or outdoor glue, layering the petals to create depth. Position the arch where it frames a view, perhaps leading into a vegetable patch over a stone path, or at the entrance to a quiet sitting area. As people pass beneath it, they'll see the garden through a curtain of color, and they might forget for a moment that these flowers will never wilt. This arch is more than just a decoration. It's a statement. It tells every visitor that beauty doesn't always have to be grown. Sometimes, it can be built from what we choose to save. And in the gentle sway of the breeze, with roses nodding nearby and bees weaving through the air, it becomes not just an entrance, but an invitation to step into a world where waste is just the beginning of wonder. Along the sunlit fence, where roses climb like a memory and honeysuckle perfumes the air, the outlines of tennis rackets catch the eye. They no longer belong to the game. The matches have long been played, the points long forgotten. Yet here they stand, reimagined as frames for life. Some are painted in soft pastels, lavender, mint, and pale yellow. Their once-taut strings replaced by a gentle mesh or wire, cradling trailing ivy that spills like green waterfalls. waterfalls. Others hold air plants, their leaves curling in quiet spirals, or small bursts of petunias and pansies that seem to bloom right out of the racket's frame. Each one is a little window opening onto a different story in the garden. The beauty lies in their individuality. No two rackets are exactly alike. Some bear the wear of decades, faded grips, tiny chips along the frame, marks of the hands that once held them. Others still have traces of their original colors, now softened by sun and time. Together, they create a gallery on the fence, a wall that hums with both history and growth. To make your own, begin with rackets you no longer use or ones found at thrift shops and garage sales. Remove or replace the strings, depending on your design. If you plan to plant directly, attach a shallow basket or a pouch of coir fiber to the frame. For air plants or lightweight blooms, the mesh itself can hold them snugly. A splash of outdoor paint will protect the frame and add personality. Arrange them on a wall or fence at varying heights, letting vines weave between them if you like. Place them where the morning light will touch their plants gently, or where you can see them from a favorite garden seat. Over time, the plants will grow. The colors will fade just enough to feel like they've always been part of the landscape, and the rackets will settle into their new role, not as tools for sport, but as keepers of beauty. And on warm afternoons, as bees drift lazily past and the scent of honeysuckle thickens, you might catch yourself imagining the sound of a distant tennis match. Not because you missed the game, but because you know that every ending can be a new beginning, especially in a garden. On the garden fence, between the trailing ivy and the swaying geraniums, something unexpected catches the eye. A clock, its round face framed not in polished wood or shiny metal, but in the weathered steel of an old frying pan. Once it sizzled breakfasts and stirred laughter in the kitchen. Now it marks time in the open air, counting the quiet hours of the garden. The pan's rust has not been hidden. Instead, it's been embraced, painted over in delicate swirls of lavender and soft yellow, the texture giving depth to each petal in the design. Around the numbers, hand-painted blossoms curl outward, as if time itself blooms from the center. The clock hands sweep gently over this garden of color, moving in the same rhythm as the bees visiting nearby flowers. The charm of this transformation lies in its honesty. The past life of the object is still there, but now it carries a new purpose. It's more than just a clock. It's a memory made visible, given a place in the present instead of being left behind. Creating one is delightfully simple. Find an old pan, the more character it has, the better. Clean it well, then coat it with a primer suited for metal. Choose colors that will complement your garden, whether that's soft pastels for a gentle touch or bold hues for a lively burst. Paint your design, flowers, vines, sunbursts, or even abstract shapes. Then seal it with a weather-resistant finish. Add clock hands and a simple mechanism to the center, making sure it's protected from rain. Once it's complete, hang it where you can see it as you tend your plants or sip your morning tea. You'll find that time feels different here. It doesn't rush or demand. It simply flows. A minute marked by the flicker of a butterfly's wings, an hour by the slow shifting of shadows across the fence. And in those moments, you might realize that this clock isn't really measuring time at all. It's marking the life of your garden. Each tick a reminder that beauty can grow in the most unexpected places, even on the face of a pan that once knew only heat and flame. Under the leafy shade of summer, a path winds quietly through the garden. It does not lead to a door or a gate, but to a place where curiosity feels at home. The ground beneath your feet shimmers, a trail made from the forgotten music and silent data of yesterday's CDs. Each piece catches the light differently. Some throw out flashes of emerald and sapphire, others ripple in soft pink and gold, depending on the angle of the sun. As you walk, the colors seem to shift with you, as though the path itself is alive and playful. Even on cloudy days, there's a gentle sheen, a reminder that beauty doesn't need perfect light. It simply adapts. Creating such a pathway begins with a little collecting and a lot of imagination. Old CDs, scratched DVDs, even broken discs from game consoles, all can be reborn here. Cut them into irregular shapes, taking care with gloves and a steady hand. The jagged pieces, when set into cement or a sturdy adhesive base, form a mosaic that's both durable and enchanting. Arrange them as randomly or as precisely as you like. A swirling spiral, a river of light, or a scattered constellation beneath your feet. The real magic comes when the sun finds them. Morning light makes them glow soft and pastel, while midday turns them into a burst of jewel tones. At dusk, the last rays dance in fragmented rainbows along the edges, as if the day is saying goodbye in color. Surround your mosaic with plants that love to spill toward the path. Low-growing mosses, creeping thyme, or bright ground covers like alyssum. Their greenery will frame the light and make the shimmer stand out all the more. And then, when you walk barefoot along it, you'll notice something else. The smooth edges of the CDs feel cool in the shade and warm in the sun. And each step becomes a quiet reminder that even broken things can lead you somewhere beautiful. This pathway is more than just a way to move through the garden. It's a celebration of stories once stored on shiny discs, of the light that transforms the ordinary, and of the idea that magic often lies right under our feet. In the heart of the vegetable patch, among the basil, tomatoes, and rosemary, tiny guardians stand watch. They're not carved from wood or shaped from stone, but reborn from the toy boxes of the past. Dinosaurs, ponies, cars, and superheroes, each one carrying a name that tells you who grows where. Once forgotten under couches and in dusty corners, these toys have been given a second chance. Their scratches and faded colors only add to their charm, telling silent stories of the hands that once played with them. Now they stand tall, or at least as tall as their little legs allow, beside sprigs of mint and stalks of lavender, with plant names painted boldly across their sides. The joy of these garden markers is twofold. They bring a smile every time you see them, and they keep your garden organized without a single dull label. A toy dinosaur might guard the lettuce bed, jaws frozen mid-roar. A tiny truck might haul the name of a rosemary bush. A pastel pony might stand watch over a row of blooming marigolds. Making them is as simple as it is satisfying. Gather old toys, the ones missing wheels with chipped paint or no longer played with. Wash them well, then choose whether to leave them in their well-loved state or repaint them in bright, weatherproof colors. Use permanent markers or small painted plaques attached to the toy to display the plant names. Secure them on thin garden stakes or directly into the soil, making sure they won't tip over in the wind. If you garden with children, this becomes even more magical. They'll love choosing which toy guards each plant, and they might even take more interest in watering and tending the garden just to check on their garden team. In the warm afternoon light, the toys cast playful shadows over the soil. A dinosaur's tail curves across the ground like a little fence. A superhero's cape flutters in the breeze, and somewhere nearby, a bee hovers over a flower, perhaps wondering what kind of strange, colorful creatures have joined the garden. Here, the practical meets the whimsical. Each marker reminds you that gardening isn't only about the harvest. It's about joy, memory, and finding small, unexpected ways to make the space yours, one playful guardian at a time. Suspended from a thick, time-worn tree branch, the tire sways gently in the summer air. Once it rolled over miles of asphalt, carrying weight and speed. Now it cradles life, painted in soft mint and coral, with tiny hand-painted daisies along its curve. The tire has traded motion for stillness, the road for roots. Inside its circular embrace, petunias spill like laughter, pink, white, and violet, tumbling over the rim in soft cascades. Marigolds sit proudly in the center, their sunny faces catching every drop of light. Ivy trails down like green ribbons, swaying with the breeze. Bees visit without hesitation, weaving between the flowers and humming a quiet song that feels like summer itself. Transforming an old tire into a planter is a simple act of renewal. Begin by giving the tire a thorough cleaning. A coat of outdoor paint not only brightens it, but also protects it from the elements. For extra charm, add painted patterns, flowers, swirls, or even your garden's name. Line the inside with a breathable fabric or coir to hold soil, then fill it with a rich, well-draining mix. Choose plants that spill and cascade. They'll soften the tire's edges and make it look like a living wreath. Hang it from a strong branch or a sturdy pergola beam using heavy-duty chain or rope. Make sure it's balanced so the flowers grow evenly and the planter sways gently without tipping too far. Over time, as the plants grow fuller, the tire will seem to bloom entirely, a floating circle of life and color. What's beautiful about the tire swing planter is how it bridges playfulness and elegance. It recalls the joy of childhood swings, yet it settles into the garden as a piece of living art. In the quiet of early morning, it catches drops of dew on its painted surface. By midday, it glows under the sun, and in the evening, it sways ever so slightly as if nodding to the day's end. It is proof that the things built for speed can still learn the beauty of stillness. And here, in the heart of the garden, this tire doesn't race anymore. It blooms. Perched delicately between daisies and rosemary, the dragonflies seem frozen mid-flight, as if they were caught in a moment of summer daydreaming. Their wings shimmer with hints of aqua, lilac, and pale peach, catching the sunlight in a way that makes you wonder if they might suddenly take off into the air. But these guardians of the garden are not made of silk or fragile glass. They are born from the simplest of beginnings, old wire coat hangers, once tucked away in closets, now bent and shaped into graceful forms. Their wings are stretched with translucent tulle or mesh, painted in light-catching colors that glow when the sun leans across them. The bodies, wrapped in colorful ribbon or painted metal, curl gently at the ends, hinting at movement even in stillness. Creating them is a joyful act of transformation. Start with a hanger, bending it carefully into the outline of two elongated wings on each side. Secure the shape with pliers, then stretch tool, mesh, or even recycled fabric across the frame. A coat of weatherproof paint can turn the wings into stained glass illusions. Add a body from twisted wire, a painted dowel, or even leftover garden stakes, and attach it all together securely. Once finished, the dragonflies can be mounted on stakes, fixed into flower beds, or even hung from tree branches where they will sway in the breeze. Their charm lies not in perfect realism, but in the way they capture the spirit of the garden, playful, colorful, and welcoming. In the mornings, dew collects on their wings, glistening like tiny jewels. By midday, sunlight dances through their colors, casting soft patterns on the soil. And at dusk, they fade gently into silhouette, keeping quiet watch over the flowers they stand among. They invite curiosity, too. Visitors lean in to touch the mesh, to trace the curve of a wing, to guess at what they were made from. Children point, convinced that real dragonflies might come to rest beside them. And perhaps they do, drawn by the same soft colors and peaceful stillness that make these sculptures feel like they've always belonged. Here in the garden, the dragonflies don't fly, but they remind us that even the most ordinary things can be remade into something that lifts the spirit, if only we bend them toward beauty. As the day exhales into evening, the garden leans into the golden light. The sun dips low, and one by one, the bottles along the fence begin to glow. Some are green like deep forest moss, others blue as the twilight sea, and a few are amber, catching the last rays of the sun as if holding them in their glass hearts. These bottles were once vessels for wine, soda, or olive oil, ordinary objects emptied and forgotten. Now they are lanterns, each fitted with a tiny solar light that wakes when the daylight fades. They don't blaze with brightness. Instead, they breathe a gentle glow, casting warm halos onto the flowers and fence. During the day, they stand like colorful sentinels, their glass catching sunlight and scattering it across the garden in playful flashes. By night, they become stars hung low enough to touch, guiding you along the path or framing the view from your favorite garden chair. Creating them is simple and satisfying. Gather bottles in different shapes and colors, making sure they're clean and free of labels. Fit each one with a solar-powered light. Cork-top designs work beautifully, slipping right into the bottle's neck. For a more secure setup, mount the bottles along the fence with sturdy metal brackets or hang them from hooks. Spacing them evenly will create a rhythm of light that feels intentional and welcoming. You can leave the bottles in their natural glass tones, or for an added touch of whimsy, paint the bottoms with frosted patterns to diffuse the light. The effect is magical. A garden softly lit without overpowering the night sky. A glow that feels like it belongs to the plants as much as to you. In the stillness of evening, the fence lights turn the garden into a different world. Bees retreat into their hives, the air cools, and the glow from the bottles makes every petal and leaf seem like part of a story unfolding. Friends might gather here for a late tea or a quiet glass of wine, talking in low voices under the gentle light. And long after the last word is spoken, the bottles will keep shining, patient, steady, and beautiful. A reminder that even what's emptied can still be full of light. In a corner of the garden where sunlight falls generously, a splash of unexpected color rises above the blooms. Umbrellas, once turned inside out by storms or faded by too many summers, now stand proudly, offering shade not to people, but to petals. One hangs upside down from a wooden frame, its canopy repurposed as a cradle for trailing petunias. Another is fixed upright, casting a soft shadow over a cluster of begonias and ferns, keeping their leaves fresh under the midday sun. A third stands in a riot of pastels, painted with cheerful swirls and tiny flowers, its handle entwined with ivy that seems to claim it as part of the garden. The idea is both practical and poetic. The umbrellas protect delicate plants from harsh sunlight, while also serving as unexpected bursts of color high above the flower beds. From a distance, they look almost like giant blossoms themselves, frozen mid-bloom. Transforming an umbrella into a piece of garden charm is wonderfully simple. Clean the fabric, reinforce any weak ribs with wire, and give the canopy a fresh coat of weatherproof paint if needed. For planters, turn the umbrella upside down, line it with coconut coir or fabric to hold soil, and plant trailing or cascading blooms so they spill gracefully over the edges. To create shade, secure the umbrella handle into the ground or a heavy base, and position it where your plants will appreciate a break from the strongest rays. As the day moves, the umbrellas shift their shadows across the garden, creating moments of cool relief for flowers and for anyone wandering through. Bees drift lazily in and out of the shade, unbothered by the strange new flowers above them. By evening, when the sun tilts low and the air softens, the umbrellas glow with the warm light of sunset. They stand as colorful guardians of the day, each with its own story, perhaps a rainy day companion now enjoying clear skies, or a flea market find that's bloomed into something new. And here's the quiet beauty of it. The umbrellas don't just keep the garden cool. They remind you that even what's broken can still shelter life, still add joy, and still find a place under the sun. Tucked between the foxgloves and the fern fronds, there's a shimmer that catches your eye. At first, you might think it's just sunlight filtering through leaves, but step closer, and you'll see it. A curved curved frame set into the garden wall, filled with shards of broken mirror. Each piece reflects a different world. A patch of blue sky, a petal trembling in the breeze, the quick flicker of a butterfly's wings. Together, they create an illusion, not of something broken, but of a doorway to somewhere else, a place just beyond the garden, where magic feels entirely possible. The portal's edges are softened by moss and creeping vines, their green fingers curling protectively around the glass. At dusk, tiny fairy lights strung along the frame begin to glow, their warm light catching in the mirror fragments so that the doorway seems to hum with quiet energy. On still evenings, the reflections are so vivid you could almost believe that stepping through would take you into another story. Creating your own fairy portal is a gentle balance between structure and imagination. Start with a sturdy frame, round, arched, or whatever shape feels right for your garden. Collect old, broken mirrors or carefully cut an inexpensive mirror into shards, and arrange them within the frame, leaving small gaps so that vines can weave through later. Fix each piece securely with outdoor adhesive, ensuring the sharp edges are safely smoothed or sealed. To deepen the magic, plant around the portal with tall blooms and textured greenery. Foxgloves, ferns, and climbing roses work beautifully, creating a living frame that changes with the seasons. A string of battery or solar-powered fairy lights can add a soft glow at night, drawing the eye to the portal's secret charm. Over time, the plants will grow closer, the mirrors will weather slightly, and the portal will feel more and more like it has always been there, part of the garden's own history. Visitors will pause, tilt their heads, and perhaps catch a reflection of themselves mingled with flowers and sky. And maybe, just maybe, they'll walk away believing that in your garden, there really is a door to somewhere else, a place where imagination and nature meet in the shimmer of broken glass. In the dappled light beneath a flowering branch, a porcelain teacup waits. It's not on a table, and there's no steam curling from its rim. Instead, the cup is tilted slightly forward, its saucer catching the morning sun, and inside, not tea, but a generous scattering of birdseed. A robin arrives first, landing lightly on the rim as if greeting an old friend. Moments later, a pair of finches joins in, their wings fluttering in quick bursts before settling to feed. The delicate clink of beaks against porcelain is almost like the faint chime of spoons in tea, a sound that blends into the hum of the garden. The teacup itself is vintage, with tiny hand-painted roses along its sides and a gold trim faded from years of use. Perhaps it once belonged to someone's grandmother, holding countless morning teas and quiet conversations. Now it offers something entirely different, a daily invitation to the winged guests of the garden. Turning a teacup into a bird feeder is a simple act of grace. Choose a cup and saucer that speak to you. Mismatched is charming, and a littleware only adds to the story. Fix them together with strong, weather-resistant adhesive, angling the cup slightly so that seeds rest inside without spilling. You can mount the set on a wooden post, hang it from a sturdy branch with rope or chain, or secure it to a fence where you can watch from a window. Place it near flowers or shrubs to make birds feel safe while feeding. Refill it regularly with seeds suited to local species, and you'll soon have familiar visitors returning day after day. What's lovely about this project is how it blends utility with beauty. The birds get a reliable food source, and you get a living ornament, one that moves, sings, and changes with the seasons. In spring, the feeder might be surrounded by blossoms. In autumn, by golden leaves. And in winter, when color is scarce, the sight of a bird perched on porcelain feels like a small, gentle miracle. It's a reminder that the most ordinary objects, even a teacup, can hold far more than they were made for. Sometimes they can hold joy. As our journey through these garden transformations comes to an end, take a moment to look around your own space. The quiet corners, the forgotten objects, the little pockets of possibility you may have overlooked. The beauty we've shared today isn't locked within special tools or expert skills. It lives in the way we see, in the care we give, and in the willingness to give old things a chance to bloom again. Here at Teraflora Studio, we believe a garden is more than flowers and soil. It's a living reflection of creativity, patience, and the joy of making something with your own hands. Whether you choose to craft a glowing bottle lantern, a mosaic pathway from forgotten CDs, or a tiny fairy house from scraps, each creation becomes part of your story, a piece of your heart nestled among the leaves and petals. These ideas are not just for decoration. They are for slowing down, for feeling the rhythm of the seasons, for inviting wonder into your everyday life. And as the days pass, you may find that these small, handmade treasures bring as much joy to you as they do to your garden. If you felt inspired by what you've seen and heard, we warmly invite you to subscribe to Teraflora Studio. It's not just a button. It's an open gate to a world of ideas, gentle moments, and projects that make life a little more beautiful. By joining us, you'll always have a companion in creativity, ready to share new ways to let your garden and your imagination flourish. So let's keep growing together, slowly, thoughtfully, and always with a touch of magic. Until next time, may your hands be busy, your heart be light, and your garden always be in bloom.